welcome all. So far in this unit we have discussed about additives and admixtures. You know very well what is meant by additives and what is meant by admixtures. Both are added either in the cement or in the concrete to improve the properties of the cement or concrete. Okay, additives were added at the time of manufacturing of the cement, whereas we add the admixtures while manufacturing. When you are making the concrete. Okay, at that time you will be adding the admixtures. So this is the first of all, this is the difference between admixtures and additives. Okay, some of the admixtures and additives were there. So if you take GGBS, that is ground granulated blast furnace slag, it can be used as additives and also as an admixtures. If it is used as an additives while manufacturing cement, it will be added in the at the time of manufacturing to the clinker and will, along with the gypsum. Okay, it will produce the Portland slag cement. So the same GGBS we can use as an admixture. While comparing this to what they found is, this is noted that it is preferable to make use of these materials as admixtures rather than additives, because we can use the quantity according to our need. If we use as an additives means it is an estimated amount. We cannot add if we want more, or we cannot reduce the content. If we add as an admixture means we can add according to the need of our work. Okay, so this is all about additives and admixtures. Then coming to the types of admixtures, you all know that there are two types of admixtures. One is chemical admixtures and another one is mineral admixtures. Mineral admixtures are nothing but the pozzolanic admixtures. Okay, so there are various types of mineral admixtures. We have discussed about that in our class itself, that is fly ash, silica fume and GGBS. Okay, there are some more admixtures. Some more mineral admixtures are there. These admixtures are also pozzolanic in nature, so that only they comes under the mineral admixtures. They are, first one is rice ash, next one is soot, and third one is metacolins. We are going to discuss about these three. Okay, we have discussed earlier about fly ash, silica fume, and GGBS, which comes under the mineral admixtures, that is pozzolanic admixtures. In the same topic, okay, in the same mineral admixtures, we are going to discuss about remaining three admixtures, that is, one is rice ash, second one is soot, and third one is metacolin. Coming to the rice ash, okay, rice ash is actually obtained by burning the rice husk. You know what is meant by rice husk. Okay, so they were burning it the rice husk in a controlled manner, so that it will not cause any environmental pollution. So it should be burned in a controlled manner, because whenever you are burning some waste like this, it will cause some gases which are not good for the environment. So it should be done in a controlled manner, and it should be properly burnt so that it contains about 90% of silicon dioxide. Okay, whenever it is properly burnt, it contains high quantity of silicon dioxide, that is about 90%, which is similar to the silica fume. In silica fume also we studied that it also contains about 90% of silicon dioxide. Okay, it also exhibits very high pozzolanic characteristics. Okay, same as a silica film. It also has very high pozzolanic characteristics because it is very fine particle. Here also the same thing is happening. This possesses very high pozzolanic characteristics, and it exhibits, it imparts a high strength and impermeability to the concrete. Since it is very high in strength, and also how it becoming very high in strength means the fineness of the particles will be very less. So the pore size will be reduced. If the pore size is getting reduced means, so it cannot conduct anything into the concrete, which means it makes the concrete impermeable. This rice ash is capable of making the concrete impermeable to very high degree. So if the concrete is impermeable means, obviously the strength will get increased, because the concrete will be dense. If it is dense means the concrete is capable of holding more stress. So it exhibits high strength. Okay. Then, so we discussed that 90% of its composition is silicon dioxide. Okay. Next is also, it also contains 5% of carbon. Okay. 5% of carbon and 2% of potassium oxide, that is K2O. 2% 2% of potassium oxide, that is K2O. In India, we all know India produces tons and tons of paddy every year. Okay, so what they have found is from every ton of paddy, it is capable to produce 40 kg of rice as hash. Okay, note this, from every ton of paddy, it is capable to produce 40 kg of rice as hash. So our country, we are very good in producing the paddy. So we can use this waste material as an alternative. I mean, as a partial replacement or as an admixture in the cement, so that we can reduce the wastage of these materials. At the same time, we can increase the properties of the properties of the concrete. So here are some of the details about the rice hash. So we have already discussed that it contains about 90% of silicon dioxide, 5% carbon and 2% potassium oxide. And its specific surface is 40 to 100 meters square per gram. Okay, so we are producing tons of paddy every year, about 122 million tons. From that, from every ton, it is capable to produce 40 kg of rice starch. So it is very good potential to make use of this rice starch as a pozzolanic material, as it gives the very good properties similar to the microsilica. Microsilica is nothing the silica fume. Silica fume has three names. One is microsilica, silica fume, or condensed silica. Both are same. Sorry, three of them are same. Okay. Next, coming to Surki. Okay, Surki, by seeing this color itself, we can get the raw material of the Surki. Okay, this is the common pozzolanic material in India, first of all. Okay, this is used along with lime in many of our old structures before the influence of the Portland cement. Okay, before the existence of Portland cement, they were using the Surki mixed with the lime. Okay, after that only we obtained the Portland cement and all. Even after the entry of the Portland cement, Suki remained its service as an admixture to overcome some of the undesirable properties in the concrete. Okay, mostly they were using this for the waterproofing treatments. Okay, they are preferring this Suki for waterproofing treatments. It can be also used along with cement or lime to make concrete impervious. So we have discussed earlier that this in rice starch also having the same property. Okay, it is also capable of making the concrete very impervious. Similarly, the Suki is also capable of making the concrete impervious when it is mixed along with either with lime or cement. Okay, this is a artificial pozzolana. So I told you that by seeing the color itself, we can find what is the raw material for the Suki. Okay, the raw material is nothing but the burnt clay or powdered bricks. Most commonly here, what I have given in the given picture, it is the powdered bricks. Okay, either they will be getting the Suki from the by powdering the bricks, or they will be burning the clay balls, and after burning the clay balls, they will be grinding it into the fine powder. So either they will obtain from the bricks or from the clay. This is the raw material of the Suki. So this material is obtained from soil. Am I right? Because for making bricks also we are getting some soil and manufacturing the bricks. So if it is clay also, it also comes under the soil. Also, its soil nature highly influences the mineral composition. Okay, the mineral composition of the soil and the degree of burning, that is how far it is burning, that is also very important. Whatever it may be, it may be a bricks also, it should be burnt. Okay, and if it is a clay also, you should burn, and then only you will be getting the what you will be getting that after that only you will be grinding and getting the Suki powder. Okay, so that burning process, that degree of burning and its a fineness of the grinding, this all influences the characteristics of the Suki. And in the past, the term Surki was used for varying material with respect to composition, temperature of burning, fineness of grinding, and etc. But nowadays, what they termed this Surki, no, they have termed this Surki as calcined clay pozzolana. You can also name this Surki as calcined clay pozzolana. You know what is the process of calcination. Calcination means you're going to heat the raw material. Okay, so you are going to burn the raw material. So this is called calcine. You are burning the clay. That is called calcined clay. You are getting the pozzolanic property material. So calcined clay pozzolana. So they are using IS 1344 in the year 1981. Okay, you can write it as IS 1344-1981. This code covers the specification for calcined clay pozzolana for use in mortar or concrete. Okay, so that's this IS 1344-1981. Okay, this code only we should use we should refer only this code when we are using the Suki as a admixtures while making concrete or in the what or you are making mortar or a concrete, whatever it may be, you should refer this code to use Suki. Next, you are having one more code, that is IS 1727-1967. IS 1727-1967. This code covers the methods of the test for the pozzolanic materials. So you know what your how to use, okay, how you are going to use this calcined clay pozzolana will be covered in the code IS 1344-1981. Okay, after using this pozzolanic material, it may be any pozzolanic material. Okay, you will be testing that concrete or that mortar cube. For that purpose, you have to refer one more code, that is called IS 1727-1967. So far Surki has been used as an admixture in the construction of Vanivilas Sagar Dam. Write down the name: Vanivilas Sagar Dam, Krishna Raja Sagar Dam, Hira Bhaskar Sagar Dam, Nizam Sagar Dam, Metu Dam, Bhavani Dam, Tungabhadra Dam, Chambal. So far they are using Rana Pratap Sagar Dam. So in various dams they have used this Suki as an admixture. Okay, the Bakranangal project. Okay, there this argillaceous clay. Argillaceous means it is the product of the clay material. Okay, that clay was calcined in an oil-fired rotary kiln, and then it is grinded. Okay, for grinding they will be using one ball mill. Sometimes the chamber may be more, so it is called a multi-chamber ball mill. So they will be making this Suki in this technical way, and they were using about 100 tons per day at the rate of 20% replacement of the cement. This is for the Bakranangal project. I repeat, they were taking raw material, that is clay. Clay means argillaceous clay, and they are burning it in the oil-fired rotary kiln. There are various types of kilns are there. They are burning this in the oil-fired rotary kiln. This process is called calcination. You very well know about that. And after that, they are grinding this in a multi-chamber ball mill. So this is the technical way of obtaining that Suki. After getting the Suki, they were using the Suki, okay, for the rate of 100 tons per day. For each day, they are using 100 tons. So think how much of clay they have been used for this making this project. 100 tons per day at the rate of 20% replacement of cement. So they are replacing about 20% of the cement by Suki. In India, there are large number of pozzolanic clay deposits of strained and improved carbonate, ferruginous or osseous earths, and bauxite shales and all. So there is one institute called CRRI, which means Central Road Research Institute in New Delhi. They have conducted some survey in India about the pozzolanic clay deposits. So they found that during the late 1970s and 1980s, when there was a shortage of cement in the country, what happened? The cement manufacturers used all kinds of calcined clay pozzolanic materials. Okay, that were not conforming to the specification limits in the manufacturing of the PPC. So there will be some limitations. Okay, there will be some specifications to manufacture PPC, that is Portland pozzolanic cement. Okay, with respect to that, they found some materials that is called calcined clay pozzolanic materials, because at that time there were some shortage in the production of the cement in the 1970s and 1980s. So at that time, they found the qualities of PPCs were as manufactured in India today, especially by those companies who generate and use fly ash in their own plant, is of very high quality. So often what they considered is PPC could be better than OPC. Okay, so but now what happens? Large scale availability of fly ash and other pozzolanic materials. So now we are blending the cement with Suki and other clay products, that is calcined clay, pozzolana and all. Okay, so this is all about Suki. Next, we are going to discuss about metacolony. So, when you are making a research on this natural pozzolanas, that too thermally activated clay and kyanotic clay, these unpurified materials, that is the thermally activated ordinary clay and kyanotic clay, have often been called metacolline. They are unpurified form of ordinary clay and kyanotic clay. Though it is having some pozzolanic properties, they are not much reactive. We know that pozzolanic property will cause some reactive, what to say, some reactive. It causes some reaction. Okay, it will be very reactive. Pozzolanic materials will be very reactive, so that the process of hydration will get delayed and all. We have discussed about that previously. Though they are pozzolanic materials, though this metacolline is a pozzolanic material, this is not very reactive. To make this reactive, what they are going to do is, so this highly reactive metacolline is made by water processing to remove the unreactive impurities to make 100% reactive pozzolana. They are doing some water processing. After purifying, they will be getting this product in a white creamy color. So that is one you are seeing in the picture now. They are purified and they are thermally activated. This is called highly reactive metacolline. They will be naming shortly as HRM, highly reactive metacolline. So what happens, this highly reactive metacolline will improve the pozzolanic reactivity. So for that purpose only we are getting this highly reactive metacolline, right? So this highly reactive metacolline will show very high pozzolanic reactivity. We all know that if the pozzolanic reactivity is high, means the heat of hydration will get affected. So that there will be the reduction in the calcium hydroxide. Okay, you know that this calcium hydroxide is not at all good for concrete or cement. It is the major cause for the sulfate attack. We all know that. Okay, so this highly reactive metacolline is doing very good job. Okay, it is reducing that calcium hydroxide. So that is the culprit of the concrete. Okay, so this metacolline is capable of reducing that calcium hydroxide even as early as 1 day. And also they noted that when they are using this highly reactive metacolline, the cement paste undergoes distinct densification. So, with compared to others, this shows something different densification forms, so that the strength is getting increased If the concrete is getting densified means obviously the permeability will be lesser. So it is also making the concrete impermeable and increasing the strength of the concrete. You know what? This highly reactive metacolline is capable to compete with silica fume. When we have discussed about silica fume, we said that no material, it is very finer than fly ash. When compared to fly ash, it is very finer. But the only drawback is that fineness is also the only drawback because it makes the paste very cohesive and all we discussed, right? When compared to silica film, this metacolline is competing, which means this metacolline is much better when compared to silica film itself. Then think how fine it would be. So in India, many of the companies were manufacturing this metacolline and they are successfully running this. And also they found that the use of pozzolanas that is up to 5 to 6% replacement of the cement brings many desirable properties to the concrete, and also this is a very good substitute for the silica fume. And one more thing you should know here, metacolline is naturally not an pozzolanic material. You are specially manufacturing it. Okay, you are specially thermally activating that metacolline to get purified in the purified, and you are getting the creamy color. Then only it is the reactive metacolline. Before that, it's not at all a good pozzolanic material. Okay, so so if you specially treat that metacolline only, you will get this highly reactive metacolline, which will give many desirable properties.